Hey everybody. Guess I can get rid of my slippers. Um, Welcome to Sunday Yin. Sorry it took me a bit to get organized this morning, but we will indeed practice if you're joining live. Hi honey, my husband is. And maybe you'll join afterwards, and that works too. I'm going to practice and lead without music, but if you're wanting to practice with music today, I invite you to go to my Spotify. How can I do this? I'll put it in the chat. Da, 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 da. Copy, paste link. So yeah, you can go to my Spotify, which is handle name my friend Simonee, all one word. And it would be Yin August 23rd playlist. And it's a nice one. I curated it for my birthday on August 23rd. So, but there's some nice, restful, sweet music to practice with that will feel alongside you in a good way. And if you're all suited up with 2 blocks or 2 towels for your practice, you can get started on your back body. Make some way if you've got your props on your mat. Make sure they're handy dandy. And if you choose, this might be it for you on this Sunday. This practice of being on your back body and surrendering to that. If you're working with the playlist today, you can press play. Settle in. And just take a few deep breaths here, in and out through the nose. Notice when you inhale how your body gets wider, how your tummy and your chest lift, how you're effectively stretching from the inside by making space on the inside for breath. And then how you let go of that breath and how your body tends to heavy a little more towards the support of your mat. And just noticing that relationship of inhale and exhale and what it performs in the way of your body feeling, transitioning, meeting your breath. Many places in the world right now, we're entering a kind of second phase of our time and pandemic. And so there's a lot of stress building up or anticipation of what that looks like, especially as we reference it to our time at the beginning of 2020 and what that felt like. And so when we meet stress or kind of this unknown place, the body also has a reaction to that. So today we're just going to practice in awareness of that and mindfulness of that, and just really take care of our back body and our spine today. Not in a super long practice, just because I started a bit late and I want to respect the time today of being within the hour, but in a practice enough of and in awareness of taking care of our spine and our body today. One deep breath in together. One deep sigh out the mouth. And you're going to reach for your prop, one of them. So if it's a block or a rolled up towel, you're going to bend the legs, soles of the feet onto the mat. And then we're going to take our one prop, and it's either going to be at the lowest height or the second highest height. And we're going to lift our bum and our hips up to the sky by pressing into our feet and place the block or the towel underneath you at the base of your spine so that the sacrum rests on your block or on your towel. And you're going to feel what it feels like in the bend of your legs. You might want to right away, if you're at the smallest height of the block, go a little higher. If you're using a towel, you kind of got to hang out where you are to begin with, unless you kind of chunk up your towel a certain way. Maybe close your eyes just to receive it, to feel it. Maybe step your feet a little wider and intentionally, deliberately kind of rest your thighs and your glutes. So there's a softening in that space. The softening might look like a wider kind of expression of your thighs and your glutes. And then flip your palms up. So there's this slight but important external rotation of your shoulders, and breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. And just so there's very little distraction here of following outside stories or kind of looking for something else to do in the body and in the mind, maybe you just really follow your breath in and out through the nose. Whether it's naming your inhale, naming your exhale, and making your to-do list really small. It's just about meeting your breath. There's this practice in meditation when you're having a sit about finding a way to meet your breath. And it might just be as simple as offering a count. As you inhale and exhale, you might slowly count all the way to 10. One full inhale and exhale for the number 1. Another full in and exhale for the number 2. And so on and so forth. And through the simplicity of your stillness and your breath and your count, making it up to 10, and then returning to 1 again. As the focus becomes a little more laser on that count and breath, it's quite possible that you'll just lose track. It's a kind of sweet spot to fall into. It's also quite possible that your count and your breath and that laser focus might get a little interrupted with that story or that thing or distraction that pulls us away, which is part of our practice in being still and meditating. And just returning to that count again. Using that as a baseline, a place to come back to. Noticing the space almost around your body, the air around your skin, the temperature in the space, the feeling of breath, and that laser focus of breath in and out. Does it come with the sounds in your space, in my space? And can you not attach and just come back to that breath? For the last bit of time here, it may be possible to go a little deeper into the stretch with straight legs. Those legs resting to the ground so that your heels touch your mat, so that your feet become heavy. At the entry point of transitioning to that space, you might notice a little bit of challenge in the stretch. If the stretch is broad, it might be okay to explore that. If it's at all painful, you want to return to where you came from. Using your tools of practice, whether it's that count, whether it's that feeling of expansion on the inhale and rest on the exhale. Just making your to-do list really small in the way of meeting your breath. Wherever you may be in the way of your shape, take another gigantic inhale and really fill up to hold at the top. Hold that wide space in your belly and chest. Hold. And then exhale out the mouth. If your legs are long, just bend one leg at a time, slow, putting the soles of the feet onto the mat, feeling the meeting of your feet to the mat. And pressing down to the feet to lift the bum just a little bit so that you can slide your prop out from underneath you and bring your sacrum down onto the ground slow. Feel that. Step your feet wide and then knock your knees inward to rest up against one another and feel that. Maybe lengthen out the spine a little bit so that the lower spine, that sacrum spot, touches down onto the mat to feel that. And take your knees and rock them to the left with your feet in the same position and feel that. Breath in and out. And then take your knees back up and knock them in towards one another with your feet wide and feel that. And then take your knees and rock them towards the right and feel that. Let them land in a twist, breath in and out. And then rock your knees back up to center. Maybe lift your head slow and press into your elbows and your forearms and get up into a sit. And then take one of your or your block and you're going to put it across the midsection of your spine behind your rib cage. And as you lie back down, that's where you're going to place that prop down so that when you lie down, it kind of presses your rib cage up and you're going to lengthen your legs wide and lie down on the mat. I want you to take a few breaths. This is a super challenging pose. And just feel the space that opens up through the front of your ribs, pressing up towards your sky. You might place your hands on your ribs and feel the breath in and out through the nose. There's this subtle movement. And then I want you to take your time finding a place for your arms to be a little wider, palms face up, so that there's breathing space at the armpits and that you can place your head down onto the ground, your bum onto the ground, right? So there shouldn't be a lift through your bum or that real lower part of your back body. There should be a setting down there. The only place that's lifted and pressed up is that space in your mid-back and your ribs out in front. And whether you close your eyes and soften your jaw or both, just finding a way into this shape and using the tool of your breath to meet any kind of jarring or challenging space. Really is amazing how it can help or assist into a shape that feels a little foreign to us. And for those using a rolled up towel, there's a real nice advantage to how that feels underneath your back body. It's a little warmer, obviously a little softer. For those of us using a block While it's a little more foundationally receptive, it might just feel a little less soft, right? It's always going to feel like a block underneath our spine. So just reconciling that, literally being more aware of that. Maybe there's a slight little shift to make it a little more receptive to being here. Because one of the advantages to this shape is it can really release a lot of stuff that we hold in this space, especially as it relates to emotions and feelings, all those fun things. But we tend to stress up here. So it's no accident or surprise that this is going to be a little bit of something to explore at this time. Notice what you're doing with other parts of your body that aren't front and center to this shape. Are your toes soft? Are your hands soft? Is your upper back soft, or is it trying to suspend itself up into space? Try and kind of move through your body, whether it's head to toe or toe to head, to kind of lighten the load in other spots of your body, to dim down the lights, so to speak. Five more breaths. Take a big breath together so that you're going to really feel this kind of push into the rib cage region. Big breath in. As it gets wider, inhale a little more. Hold at the top. Feel the space in that wide. Take another sip in. And then audible exhale. Take your hands behind your head, elbows wide-ish. Lift your head like you're kind of doing a mini sit-up. Use your hands, elbows to the mat, and get up out of this. And you're going to remove your block or your towel, whatever you're using for a prop, and you're going to lie back down into a neutral spine. You'll probably feel a little more pronounced the weight of this rib cage just having a relief into the back body. But you'll also probably feel a little bit of that imprint of the arch of the spine. Just be with it for about 3 more breaths. I'm going to ask you to stay on your back body and enjoy that stretch. From your back body, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel that stretch. And stretch your arms overhead, get long. Point your toes, breathe in. And then hug your knees in. Just feel how your back body gets a little more zipped up to the mat here. For 3, 2. Before we sit up, side to side teeter. Almost like a teeter-totter that's going to go over. Feel the massage of your back body for that. And then come on to that center space and you can rock forward and back, swinging. And then you'll sit up. And we'll work our way up to the very top of our spine. You're going to take one of your props. If you're working with blocks, go to the second highest height. So if my hand was the floor, that's what you're doing there. He's going to stand up behind you where your shoulder blades, more your upper back, would hit the mat. And then second prop, lower height. So if you have a towel or your towels that you're working with, you might want to prop your towels in a way to emulate this vibe. So you can see it's behind my chest body, that first block. And then my second block becomes a kind of pillow for my head. So as we do this, our chest, similarly to how our ribs were just having their heyday, it's kind of thrust up, off, away the mat towards the sky. And our head is supported by our prop. Now, if your head suspends, many students, many friends of mine just can't get the support of something to their head with this. So they have to actually make the prop that's underneath their head the same height as what's underneath their back body. And that's an option too, right? You change the prop underneath the head. You take that element of suspending your head out of it. But if you do have support at your head, you might want to explore the benefits of opening the throat body here. In this open heart pose, kind of fish pose. And just feeling really the space that opens up from the chest and the heart and the upper back onward. And just receiving that. As you get in and you start to feel for what is serving you here, you may keep your legs long. Or you might bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide for an added component here. Inner thighs getting a stretch and hips receiving something too. Anything you add on, anything you really practice here should feel like a benefit to you. It doesn't mean that it won't be a little bit challenging, but it should feel like it's doing you good. And so you want to make adjustments to things that don't feel that way, or that take away from an aspect of the pose that we're really trying to get at, this heart opener. So if you've added on an element that's just too much, peel it back. Steady yourself in just by laser focus, breath in and out through the nose. Mindful breath, noticing how it impacts your body, noticing how it impacts our shape. Bigger the breath here, the more that you explore, the more you'll feel it in your shape. Breath is not interdependent of the posture. The posture and the breath are the yoga. Five more breaths. Slow and steady, not as though a rush to get somewhere, but it's really just about how you savor the here. Big inhale through the nose, and that big amount of space to kind of latch onto as you breathe in. You'll feel the stretch from within, and it may even challenge the shape. And then you can exhale from that very relief, audible space. If your legs are in a butterfly pose, Badakanasana, you'll want to take the hands to the outside of the thighs and maybe kind of aid the knees up to the sky, soles of the feet onto the mat. Then you'll take your hands together behind your head in a kind of sit up, bringing the head up higher than the chest body. And then you'll take your elbows and your hands to the mat and slowly come up off your props. Totally normal, guys, to feel a little bit of the ache from the place that we were in. And we're just going to set that down into a relief. Always, always, after you do anything to your spine, especially in yin for long holds, you want to meet Shavasana. There's a kind of rebound in between spot. And one of the things this stirs up is it kind of simmers you down. often coming to Shavasana in between these shapes, you might even feel like you want to drift off, like you could fall asleep after stirring up a bunch of stuff that might have been stuck in that back body space. It actually brings about a kind of tiredness or a kind of relief that feels kind of sweet to settle into. So maybe explore that for a bit if that's you. If you're continuing to explore the yin practice in a couple more asanas, you'll bring the soles of the feet to the mat. And you're going to roll over to your right side body, or maybe it's the side body that faces your monitor. In the fetal position. So that you can kind of curl up here and just feel for what that serves. Fetal position is kind of like magic. And out of the fetal position, you curl your knees up. So it's more in line with your hips or your navel. And from this place, I'm just going to get my mic out of the way. And from this place, as you're on your side body, you're going to keep your knees and your legs in this position, and you're going to roll your chest open so that you invite your twist. And you might walk that shoulder that's automatically touching the ground over a bit. In my case, it's the right shoulder. And as you try and get the other shoulder down on the ground so that your upper back body is grounded onto your mat, you might find that that top leg is lifting, right? And so if it lifts a bit and there's that space between your knees, you can put your prop in between your thighs and knees so that you support that space and that you can really enjoy your twist a little more. Again, trying to ground your upper back onto the mat. Actively softening your jaw, softening the tongue inside your mouth, and staying put into this twist. So as we worked up the line of the spine and felt little nuggets kind of open here and there, now we look for the twist and what that means. And you can close your eyes and stay put in that twist. Little bit in double duty today, negotiating some of the technical things. Which is part of the practice sometimes. How do we find our way in if we're being pulled out? So you might be aware of it in your own practice, in my practice, in my leading. And especially as we get these practices from home, there's sometimes a challenge for us to find a way. And a little goes a long way. You might notice, especially if you've put a block in between your thighs, that your upper leg has gotten a little heavier. It's slowly finding its way into resting. I only point that out to you so that you kind of notice how within a shape, the shape evolves. How you enter it is not necessarily how you exit it. It starts to fit you a little more, and your body starts to be able to meet. To get out of this shape, we are going to roll back to the side body that we started on. You're going to remove your block. Or your towel if you got one in between your knees. You'll get into the fetal position. And then you'll roll from the fetal position onto your back body in one kind of movement with your legs long. So that way you just kind of feel how that twist impacted the more neutral state of your spine. It's completely normal that one side of you feels longer or more settled, more space. And then you'll roll to the other side for fetal position. Just so I'm facing you, I'll do a little switcheroo here. And in this fetal position, again, you'll just kind of reap the rewards of the very name of this position and how it cares for us. Curl your knees up towards your hips, in line with your hips or in line with your navel, that kind of high with the knees. And then you'll just slowly keep your legs in that position and you'll roll over and start to walk that one shoulder blade more onto the mat and try and reach that other shoulder blade onto the mat. And the action of doing that may mean, it does in my case, that that top leg lifts. So you'll find your props in between your thighs and knees to help ground you. And when you breathe in this shape, in this twist, there's something really, for me at least, satisfying about feeling the breath maneuver its way into a twisted body. Maybe it's because I can really feel the journey of the breath and the channels of entryway and how it facilitates the body in a shape. And it's just more evidence of how the body shapes and breath are kind of partners in crime. From one side to another, when you're doing sides in your practice, you'll also probably notice how your body's more receptive to sides. It can all depend on how you sit, how you stand, And so for me, that's also evidence of the practice kind of working to shine a light on the habitual ways we hold our body, and then what it means to kind of break through and create new habits in the way of this practice. You might need to go from toe to head or head to toe to just feel for the body and where it's kind of still bright. Otherwise known to me as maybe a little too turned on, tension. And just see if you can dim it down. Filter the breath into that spot and out from that spot. Slow the breath into that spot and out from that spot. And journeying through about 5 more breaths. Slow and steady, savored breaths. And taking yourself back to the fetal position after those savored, steady breaths. If you're using prop in between your legs, removing that. And so that out of that space, you can almost in one move just roll onto your back body. Lengthen your legs out. And return to Shavasana. As I've said before, I think I even said it in the last class, there is literally no expiry date to Shavasana. It's kind of like you want to challenge that and keep inching into a longer and deeper place of it. Is it possible that you have yet to meet that majestic Shavasana? That there's always one in sight, a place of unknown that you can just go in a little sweeter and deeper. Whether feeling the feedback and the background of that breath in this final shape, or whether being able to drift off and kind of linger with your playlist. Just the invitation to see if you can be here a little longer. Thank you so much for joining for this yin class today, and I'd love to know how your back feels. So feel free to message me or tell me what's up. And enjoy the ultimate yin experience of your Shavasana. Sweet dreams, gang. Namaste.